Do you know that the Edo language of the Benin people contains words influenced by the Portuguese language? A lot of people often ask, why is it always the Beninese that claim to have influenced the languages of many Nigerian tribes? Didn't they borrow too? Well, let me answer you. The answer is yes. They did borrow, but largely from foreign contacts, especially the Portuguese and Spanish. Now, to understand this properly, we need a little history. The Benin Kingdom had already begun consolidating power between 1070 AD and 1085 AD during its early dynasty, but it truly rose into a powerful empire around 1440 AD. So, when the Portuguese first arrived in the 15th century, they didn't meet a weak society, they met a well-organized and thriving empire. Trade quickly began between Benin and Portugal and some of the Spanish escorts that came with the Portuguese. The Portuguese brought items like brass, copper, cloth, and weapons, while the Benin traded pepper, ivory, textiles, and other goods. In fact, by the 1490s, a Portuguese trader noted that copper bracelets were even more valued in Benin than brass. Even something as significant as the horse, often seen with the Oba, was introduced into West Africa through trans-Saharan and coastal trade linked to foreigners. Because of this exchange, new items came with new names. Some Portuguese words were adapted into Edo language. And in other cases, Edo words influenced Portuguese vocabulary as well. For example, Portuguese word ihame for yam is believed to have been derived from an Edo-related word inya. This was recorded as early as the 16th century, after the Portuguese encountered yam cultivation in West Africa. From there, they even introduced yam to Brazil. By the 1550s, crops like cassava, maize, which is corn, and sweet potato were also introduced into Benin, another part of West Africa, by the Portuguese and Spanish. Now, let's talk about everyday objects. Before European contact, Edo people had their own traditional spoons, known as uhehe. But when the Portuguese introduced their own type of spoon called kohe, the Beninese adopted the design and eventually developed a new term, ekuye. This shows not just borrowing, but adaptation and cultural evolution. The same thing happened with other items. The Portuguese word caneca, which is a drinking mug, evolved in Edo language into the word ekalaka, which is still in use till today. The citrus fruits like lemon and orange, introduced by the Portuguese and Spanish, in their languages limo, but this influenced the Edo word alimo, now used generally for orange. Edo artists as at that time also corresponded creatively. They began carving ivory spoons and artworks featuring European figures, many of which were made for export or elite use. Beyond household items, the Portuguese also introduced firearms and gunpowder, coral beads, which is iviebo in Edo language, red flannel cloth, which is ododo, mirrors, and other luxury goods. But this relationship was not one-sided. The Benin Kingdom was highly strategic. The Oba and his court deliberately selected what they wanted, especially military technology and prestige items. It was diplomacy and not dependency. In fact, the Oba of Benin even established a direct diplomatic relations with Portugal, sending an ambassador all the way to Lisbon in 16th century. And one of the Benin Obas traveled to Portugal to study and return after his graduation in 16th century. This made him the first educated king in West Africa. His name was Oba Ogbua. He later founded a camp, which is now popularly called Eko, inside Lagos today. Over time, trade with the Portuguese and Spanish and Dutch declined in the 18th century, and the British later became dominant in the 19th century. Many of these words and cultural influences remained, lasting for centuries. So in case you didn't know, now you know. History is history and it cannot be changed. No man is an island. Everybody borrowed from one another at some point in history. Well, if you learned a thing or two from this episode, kindly like, share, and comment, and follow Greatest Edo on all platforms.
Ibu ovijeme nuba nuveke o. Amiro